But I see more motivation among rich people to make money, which by that context would mean that they feel more deprived of money. And I would say, me personally, like I'm talking about how I want to get to $1 billion plus, I'm extremely motivated. From a tactical perspective, if you want to change your behavior, you need to change your environment. It's the fastest way to change behavior. Like if you want to get good at swimming, you join a great swim team and you play on the team. You surround yourself with other people who then you can compare yourself to and get fast feedback loops going.
천억 기업가이자 비즈니스 컨설턴트로 다양한 활동을 하고 있는 알렉스 홀모지. 그는 유튜브 구독자 214만, 인스타 팔로워 245만, 트위터 60만, 스레드 40만을 보유하고 있으며 이를 통한 다양한 사업의 성공을 이끈 대표적 인물입니다. 하지만 그에게도 성공한 사업가라면 누구나 겪는 수많은 실패와 고통이 있었습니다. 특히 피트니스 사업을 성공적으로 이끌어 메가까지 성공했지만 동업자의 배신으로 빈털터리가 된 실패 경험이 있었습니다. 이런 수많은 실패에도 지금까지의 결과를 만들어주는 데에는 소셜미디어의 힘이 굉장히 컸습니다. 오늘은 천억의 기업가 알렉스 홀모지의 6개월 만에 120만 팔로워를 만든 노하우에 대해 알아보겠습니다.
Alright, so here's the goal for the presentation. Give you a few lessons that I've learned to take you from wherever you are to a little closer to wherever you want to go with this presentation. I'm so good at content. So 18 months ago, I started a YouTube channel. I started making 3 videos a week. And so I continued my very steady growth the first 12 months we went from 600 to 70,000 subscribers, which was cool. Until one day I had a chat with Grant Cardone about branding. Pull up your Instagram. And I was like, okay. He's like, pull up my Instagram. He's like, I got 10 times the content as you. 10 times. He's like, bro, it's volume, bro. Volume. So I decided to take his advice and dramatically increase the amount of content that we created and how many places we displayed it. So we went from 7 pieces of content a week. I did 3 on YouTube and then I just repurposed the same 3 on the podcast to 80 content pieces a week. And for scale, if you remember the first line that I showed you way before, the top of that is that purple line from the first graph I showed you. And so this is what happened in those 6 months. We added 300,000 subscribers on YouTube, 350,000 on TikTok, 150,000 buyers, 350,000 followers, 100,000 on Twitter, 400,000 downloads a month on the podcast.
그가 SNS의 놀라운 성장을 만들어내기 위해 선택한 방법은 콘텐츠의 양을 늘리는 것인데요. 기존에는 일주일에 3개의 콘텐츠를 만들었다면 현재는 7개의 콘텐츠를 만들어 80개의 콘텐츠로 변환하여 일주일에 총 80개의 콘텐츠를 만든다고 합니다. 그렇게 콘텐츠의 양을 늘리니 6개월 만에 120만 팔로워를 얻을 수 있었습니다. 그럼 어떻게 일주일에 저렇게 많은 콘텐츠를 만들어내는지 한번 알아보겠습니다.
And so this is the content creation model. All right, fantastic. Let's start with the first one. So the old way that I used to do content was I would just have this ongoing email thread to myself. I know you guys have like notes or like a chain to yourself because you probably get ideas. You're in a conversation. Like, oh, I should make a piece of content on that, right? And then you email it to yourself. And that's how I did it for a long time. And the new way is the Twitter way, which I post all of those ideas as tweets on Twitter rather than just sending them to myself. And so all of a sudden what used to be my inbox is actually just my like tweet thread. And so I tweet about 5 times a day. The nice thing is that Twitter is a very forgiving platform. So it's just like stream of consciousness and it takes notes. You don't have to pick videos or captions or I like it because it's just thoughts. And so I'll post this stuff and I'll be like, okay, those are the ones that people thought were interesting. And then the threads become long format and the shorts become short format, or the tweets become short format. Second step is recording, right? Why am I doing both? And so I think it's a width and depth thing. I think the shorts give you a lot of breadth. I think the longs give you a lot of depth. And so there's a visual that I put together that took me too long to say that same thing. So this is everything that I know about how to make content that, quote, goes viral. But he said, it's just CTR times watch time. That's it. You got to get people to click, and you got to get people to watch. 2 points. They want people to be interested in the content to get the click, and then make sure that the content fulfills the promise of the thumbnail. And so this is the general format that I've used for the longs, which is like a hook or a question that I'm answering, usually a story that's relevant to answer the question, a framework that I've applied to repeat that process, and then an explanation of why I think it works. The shorts is a hook or a question, a hammer, which for me is my tweet. Fantastic. And so this is an example. So it's like 28 ways to guarantee poverty, or 28 ways to stay poor. So I made this thread, got a lot of shares, cool. 28 rules, reprogram your mind to be rich in 22 minutes. So I have to change the headline and stuff, but the content was identical. And then the short ones that do well, it's like, all right, overheard from a Navy SEAL, blah, blah, blah. Boom, I just make a short version of the same thing, just saying the tweet. Next one is inject. So we grew the podcast actually recently from like 20,000 a month to 400,000 a month. And a big part of that was just having call to actions. And so the way that we did it was we recorded 2 versions of each of the call to action. So I would just record 2 different CTAs for that, and then I just inject them into the content. So this is what it might look like. So it's like you have your CTA 1, content, mid-roll, content, end off. So we started doing that with the podcast, and it started to grow a lot. And now we're actually doing it in the rest of the forms of content. So you'll see that from me. Okay, contextualize. So you have to make this stuff contextual. And so this is what we do. So this is the same video, right? It's that same Navy SEAL video I made earlier, right? So that's a reel, that's a TikTok, and then that's the YouTube short. So it's the same thing, you just make it match the platform. Same way you would make your Facebook look different than your Instagram look different than your LinkedIn, etc. As long as you just make it contextual. All right, last one, distribute. All right, so we went from 7 times a week to 80 times a week in distribution. That was the result over that 6-month period, which was a lot of growth, awesome. And so we 10x the inputs and we got 10x the outputs. Surprising. Who here would like 10 times the output? Well, then you can just 10x the input.
일단 첫 번째로 트위터를 통해 내가 생각하고 있는 콘텐츠 아이디어를 테스트합니다. 트위터에서 반응이 좋은 아이디어들만 가지고 롱포맷 영상과 숏포맷 영상을 만들게 되는 거죠. 이 과정을 통해 콘텐츠의 바이럴 확률을 높일 수 있습니다. 숏폼은 바이럴 확률이 높기 때문에 나의 채널을 널리 알릴 수 있고, 숏폼을 통해 유입된 사람들을 롱폼으로 채널의 팬심을 형성할 수 있습니다. 그 다음은 각 콘텐츠마다 CTA를 통해 콘텐츠 연결을 시키는 겁니다. CTA를 통해 한 개의 콘텐츠가 바이럴되면 연결되어 있는 콘텐츠도 같이 바이럴이 될 확률이 높아집니다. 그리고 마지막으로 롱폼과 숏폼을 다양한 온라인 플랫폼마다 내용은 같지만 형식만 다르게 하여 게시합니다. 그러면 같은 콘텐츠를 가지고 수십 개의 콘텐츠를 만들 수 있어 나의 고객이나 시청자를 더 확보하기에 굉장히 유용합니다. 여러분들도 이러한 콘텐츠 전략을 사용하여 성공적인 소셜미디어를 만드시면 좋을 것 같네요. 영상 봐주셔서 감사합니다.